What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please subscribe here and please follow me on Instagram at RussoLifts. In case something happens to this channel, you can follow, message me, interact with me directly, and there's daily content on there. Hope to see you guys on Instagram. Enjoy. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Back with Zach at the Retro Physique on Instagram, and we're going to be talking about his switch from steroids to SARMs and the disadvantages and advantages he found. So Zach is a competitive classic physique competitor and has helped multiple people in preps and has done multiple shows. So I think he has the experience to say what benefits and disadvantages he's found from making the switch to a virtually all steroid based approach to his competitive career to hybrid SARMs only cycles. So what did you find when you switched? Like, why did you switch? What got you interested in SARMs, and why did you stick with SARMs and not go back to steroids?
Okay, so actually what happened was I started with SARMs first, and then because Tony found me before I got into like the drug side of bodybuilding, so I started with SARMs and then switched to all steroids. I kind of got into it with a bunch of people who were all steroids guys, so that was when I started blasting steroids. And my first cycle with gear was fine. Didn't really have any bad problems with it. Typical stuff, acne and that kind of thing. I hated injections. I pretty much hate big needles. So that's always like a terrible thing for me. But, you know, I do it to myself. I ain't a bitch about it. But it sucks. So I don't like that part. So when I went and did a national show, I ended up doing a real bodybuilder cycle, which was how my coach laid it out to me. And that including running up to like a gram of test a week, lots of EQ, lots of math. I probably shouldn't say all of this, but I mean, at one point, like I finished a bottle of Deca in like 3 weeks. Like I did like a cycle of D-ball in 3 weeks.
What was your coach's like theory behind that? Because you probably couldn't even saturate all that gear at the time. Like, what was his theory behind that? I don't think
most of it worked, to be honest. I mean, I got big, don't get me wrong, I got really big, but I felt like I was shooting and taking way too much for, like, the results I was getting. It was definitely, like, I've never heard someone say oversaturated before, but yeah, pretty much. Like, it was kind of, like, pointless. You know what I mean? My body would reject shots sometimes, or I'd get, like, cysts that wouldn't go away, and I was like, am I even using that gear? Like, what's going on? Yeah, so I experienced some like crazy shit. I mean, being a pin cushion every day, you know, whether you're on grams a week or just 8 gram total, like you still have to shoot pretty often. That's a big needle. You run out of scar tissue. Nobody really likes doing that shit. I had crazy mental problems. My mental state was all over.
Yeah, go into what happened to your mental state.
Yeah. So the mental state,
because you went from like nothing to like grams of androgens in your body.
Yeah, I mean, the first cycle I did was like 2 cc's of test, 2 cc's of EQ, and some primo. And even after I did that show, I had like a rebound, and I had post-show depression from that, which I think was probably from being so just you get more emotionally invested when you take drugs and stuff. And so even though I won that show, once you stop looking like you're on steroids, you fucked with your head a lot more. So giving yourself that elevation and then taking it away from yourself, because I wasn't going to let myself cruise. You know, I was like, I'm too young. I got to come off. I got a PCT. So I actually PCT'd. I think I did blood work then, and that was good. And so then I went and did my national show. And so I was, you know, I probably had run some Austrian or something in between. And so I kind of probably went from a SARM into like a blast. But the blast actually started with low doses of test, primo, and EQ. And then the coach that I had, like, pretty much just dipped, and so I had to cut him off. And my new coach that I had was a guy at my gym, best physique in my gym. His girlfriend was a 2-time national competitor. They were both my friends, and you know he had been monitoring my prep thus far. It was like, you know, constantly over my shoulder, like, your drugs are wrong. Let me take over your drugs, like, blah blah blah. And you know, you see the guy with no gyno, no acne. Looks amazing without trying. Like, I'm talking like this guy needs to get on a national level stage, bro, but he won't do it. Anyways, he had me pretty much like, you need to blast all of this. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a national show. Rough Diesel actually at the time told me I had a chance of going pro, so I was like, you know, all high on that. And I was like, fuck it. Like, if I don't win, I'm gonna learn a hell of a lot. And yeah, I learned a lot. Did not win, got last call outs, and pretty much it. I was so watery on stage from all the drugs that didn't really matter, all the hard work I put in.
Did they pull your injectables close to the show?
No.
Wow.
No, and I knew that was a thing. I knew that was a thing, and so I was like, why are you not pulling, like, even though we switched to Prope, like, we switched to Prope and then through Tren Ace in that week, and the Tren Ace, woo, that was not fun. That was the only time I ran Tren, and my brain was like, bro, I was like up here with my anger level. Like, it was crazy. I also had a terrible, terrible relationship at the time, and so
I'm sure that really helped.
Oh, dude, like, just, that was awful. And so pretty much I competed in November. I cruised on TRT for December because I was like, there's no way I'm coming off all of this cold turkey. I'm gonna literally die. And so I ran tests through December, maintained most of my size. I rebounded. Like, I put 30 pounds on in 2 days.
Wow.
I literally destroyed that physique in a day and a half. Like, I can show you. I have pictures on my phone. I can send those to you. I actually, like, destroyed it, and then I probably got really into a dangerous, like, bloat. Like, I was on diuretics, and so it was actually really, like, I showed it to Niles, my coach, and he was like, yeah, that was, like, not good. Like, yeah, like, you can die from that shit, so you definitely got to be careful when you rebound. So all of that happened because I abused drugs and bodybuilding steroids, basically, because I just let somebody tell me how to do it, and I was just like, okay, I'll learn and I'll trust them. So once that happened, I started doing a lot more research on what I was doing, and I thought I was knowledgeable enough to tell him no, but I never really said no. So that wasn't really the case, you know. I just kind of, like, did what he told me, which I just don't really recommend. You should always listen to coach, but when it comes to drugs and when it comes to just, like, your gut, you should kind of trust your gut. So that's what I'm at now. But anyways, so I cruised on test in December, and then January, I moved to Texas from Florida, and pretty much, like, spun into this, like, crazy, like, depression, and, like, my mind was just fucking completely destroyed, and I lost like 20 pounds of muscle from like January to February.
It's cool you're talking about this because not too many people have the balls to open up about the mental roller coaster of going from that extreme level of androgens to a virtually normal amount of androgens.
It's honestly, like, it's the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, I think, honestly. And especially having a crazy home life, you know, as humans, you know, human nature, we do weird shit. We create bonds and attachments and stuff. So, like, my girl and I broke up. She took her dog, but my dog, and just dipped. And I pretty much didn't eat over 1,000 calories for like the next 4 or 5 months. Like, I was just like, fuck life.
So I bet you're pretty turned off from cycling. So
I'm turned off.
I'm
turned off, but not like crazy. Like, I still agree with steroids. I'm still okay with them. I have a much greater understanding, and I also, for them, and also what I'm capable of taking. Like, I'm just not gonna, like, OD it like that ever.
And then what got you moved into SARMs and the hybrid cycles, and how does that compare to the extreme gear cycles you did as far as your competitions go?
Okay, so spent that whole year, like, afterwards, kind of like using SARMs to try to recomp the physique that I lost. I lost 20 pounds of muscle. So I was playing with different SARMs. A Catabol came out, S23 came out. What other ones came out at that time? Ace, or is it ACP? A few of them came out. So I was experimenting with those and diets. I started experimenting with new training. And then this year, I moved back to Florida, kind of got my shit together, decided I wanted to prep again. And I'd still been running SARMs because, you know, I'd been just using the SARMs, and didn't want to run steroids in my off season, even tests. I was turned off enough by injections and by steroids. I didn't want to run tests at all. And so when I decided to compete again, I decided that I was going to see how far I could push the SARMs. I wanted to do this prep as hard as I would any other prep, I just didn't want to inject anything. Then injectable SARMs came out, and that went out the window. But but I just didn't bother adding tests to it. But I was trying to make it like hey, like for me personally, and also for my content and people who care about what I'm doing, like check this out. I'm gonna do a SARM only. I'm gonna prove that SARMs work enough to make you competitive, and if you do the hard work and the training, like you can look this good. And so being super open about the fact that I was on SARMs made people believe me because I was so open, and they also believed me when I said I wasn't on steroids, because why would he lie? And that's the case. I didn't need to lie. I was just so open about it, and I just was so cool with what I was doing with myself that it made it like pretty easy. Like I didn't really have to like convince anyone. Like, yeah, I'm only on SARMs. Like I've run steroids before. I've done it. Doesn't matter to me. Like I just don't need it now. The SARMs are working. Like I definitely don't look roided out, but everyone would agree. Like when I train, like I have caps, I've got muscle bellies, I've got the whole anabolic factor. You see everything. So, I was just wanted to prove that the SARMs could definitely keep you competitive, and I pretty much think I did that, to be honest. And so that was pretty much it. Working with Tony, especially when the injectable SARMs came out, I really decided that I didn't want to add the testosterone base because I wanted to keep it a SARM only cycle. And so at that point, that was like, okay, I'm really keeping this SARMs only. And so now I think that I've got experience with doing prep on SARMs only. I'm going to know how to mix it with steroids in the future. I've done SARM only preps before too. I have done one prep on SARMs only, and it was like an Austrian S4 MK677, I believe is what I used. Those were the orals from Enhanced Athlete back in the day, and that went really well too. And I just don't really talk about that because I wasn't really as much of an experienced bodybuilder. So I was learning a lot back then, but at that point, I've used the SARMs.
What would you say the benefits of SARMs are, and what would you say the drawbacks of SARMs are from a competitive standpoint?
Okay, so from a competitive standpoint, all right, the benefits are definitely easy. So burn fat, build muscle on prep. Those are two things that if you want to have happen, you need anabolics that work. And so the SARMs do that. You can absolutely burn fat and build muscle at the same time in a calorie deficit on SARMs. So there's your advantages. You can create different looks. You get the site enhancement from the injectable SARMs. Like I noticed definite site enhancement in my shoulders.
Site enhancement meaning he's placing it in body parts that he wants to bring up or accentuate.
Yeah, yes. Let's see. Other advantages. Well, each SARM has its own specific advantage at that point. So then disadvantages would be they don't follow through with as big of a punch as high dose steroids seem to do. It seems like you can make stronger, more rapid changes on high dose of steroids compared to high dose of SARMs. The rapid changes that we make on SARMs are pretty crazy, but at the same time, if you blast steroids, that's going to happen too. So if you're willing to blast anything, I mean, I feel like SARMs are just not going to be able to keep up. But if you're willing to put in the work and, you don't want to destroy your body and you're looking for something that's seriously going to give a competitive edge, for me, that was why I chose the SARMs. And so that's kind of a drawback for guys who are used to running, high doses of tren, high doses of growth, and, grams of test in a week. But at the same time, the emotional drawbacks of steroids, I'm always in this like back and forth where like, yeah, steroids might be a little bit stronger here, but the side effects are just not worth it. So the SARMs just don't follow through, but the lack of side effects are so awesome. You don't feel high blood pressure on injectable S23 or the injectable Ligandrol. And the high blood pressure on steroids was like through the roof, even when you're taking, all these health supplements.
Yeah, just my little play around with tren, just sitting, my heart rate was like 20 points higher than it normally was. So,
and who knows what you were thinking about while you were sitting there? Your mind was probably all over the place.
Right. And tren passes through the blood-brain barrier very easy and is linked to Alzheimer's in medical studies. So
That's
Definitely some
another
disadvantages.
Yeah, injecting every day, still a disadvantage in my opinion. You know, injectable SARMs are injectable, so you gotta stick a needle somewhere. You'll still feel like a pincushion. That's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have any blood work to show disadvantages as far as like my insides go, but as far as my experience has been, health, like how I feel health wise, blood pressure, heart rate, sleeping, night sweats, all that kind of stuff. It's all it's like 1/5, 1/10 of being on a steroid stack compared to SARMs.
Completely agree. So that's just a little look into, you know, what way. Fuck. That's just a little. Jesus Christ. That's just a little look into comparing the risk and reward to going with steroids only and going down the blasting of steroids versus looking into some of the new technologies out there. And you may not get the most results, but you'll definitely get a lot less side effects. And I can for 100% agree with Zach. Every time I go into blasting gear, I feel more unhealthy than when I do my SARM experiments.
And how do you feel when you come off? If you lose muscle and stuff, was it even worth it? If you got depression or you couldn't eat after your cycle and you lost 10 pounds of muscle and you only kept
That's a very
10
good point.
out of 20, might as well just put on 10 pounds with SARMs, not hate your life for, you know, the extended amount of time. Because once you hit 4 months on a steroid blast, bro, it's like that's pretty much where I think the line draws, where you start to kind of just go downhill. So, personal experience.